This is Blobbers, and welcome to our very first podcast, sort of. And basically, what Ryan and I are gonna quotation mark debate about is basically not our actual opinions, but what we think that people on these points of view would think. So do keep in mind that this may not be our actual opinions, and that this is just
Mm.
what we think people of opposite sides will think. And if you want to elaborate more, you can see in the comment section. And if you enjoyed, I hope that you leave a like and subscribe. That would really mean a lot to me. On the side where you support FPS games, and I go on the side where I don't support. Okay, the
Yeah.
guy that supports should go first. Okay, state your point about why you enjoy FPS games. Just
I
a short
enjoy
and
FPS
sweet.
games. Firstly, because I started out playing that genre of games. As such, it does play a nostalgia factor in why I decided. Secondly, I believe that nostalgia that was these FPS games, they also train more things such as your tracking ability to lock onto multiple targets and whatnot. As such, it provides more benefits than other genres
What
that
benefits does that bring to tracking in your aim? Does it make you better at certain games? Like better in overall? I don't know. You gotta. Is it IRL
okay,
benefits or?
not only is it in-game benefits as in oh your aim is increased, you get to hit your shots more regularly. No, not only that, but your eyesight increases as well. Normally when you do these kind of things,
Well,
you
I
have to
guess you
focus
couldn't say
more on your
eyesight. Wait. I guess you could. I guess it's not that your eyesight improves. It's more of like you can more alert. I guess.
your vision is improved
Well, your vision isn't improved. That doesn't make
because
sense. Like more like you're more
as
alert. You're more alert because vision improving is
yeah,
very
your trait by playing these FPS games, you're trained to be more alert in your games,
a lot more
being more aware of
responsive.
your surroundings, and have a what's a greater awareness of what's around you. So that will help as well.
Okay, but I will go on to your first point on nostalgia. Okay, nostalgia is very subjective to whatever game we pick. For example, if I started off playing League of Legends, that game would be nostalgic to me, despite it not being a first-person shooter game. It it was my first game, so it's nostalgia. So any game can be nostalgia. So I say that if you play an FPS game because it's nostalgia, well, that's not really a reason, because any game you could play any game because of nostalgia at this point of time. So nostalgia would really be ruled out of this part. And for FPS games, making your alertness better, I feel like there are many other games that will make your alertness level, if that's even a word, better. Like for example, let's talk about a game like Minecraft. Okay, sure, we we all know about Bed Wars, like the video, like the game that's literally playing over right now. It requires you to be alert, know whether your enemies are gonna break your bed, that sort of stuff. But it's not an FPS games. So by putting it this way, FPS games are we do not need to play FPS games. Actually, we can play other games to still train that sort of things. As such, I feel like FPS games are not the best option to always go for. People always like, oh, I want to train my aim, I want to train my alertness, my reaction time. Oh, let's go play an FPS game. I think that is completely wrong. I guess what you should do is pick any game that would suit you better, rather than going what the majority believes or what the majority prefers. All
On
right.
your
Yeah.
okay, so on your first point that nostalgia doesn't play a factor, I'd like to say that yes, although that is an aspect that does make sense. However, nostalgia can also affect multiple things. As in, was it when you first started off playing this certain games, you will most likely dislike other games and show its flaws rather than its benefits. As such, it may cast a shadow of doubt over others, and it also may not give much reliability to your statement as a result. And furthermore, although yes, Minecraft does support certain game modes which have certain abilities to enhance your vision, like FPS game. The main aim of the game, however, is not in those mini games, but rather in its single player mode and stuff like that. As such, a majority of players who do not enjoy Minecraft PvP or what's it have not discovered it yet will lack these kind of advantages that people have when they play against other people competitively in games.
Okay, but onto your point of this, why play an FPS game when you can select multiple other games of different genres to train that specific thing rather than relying on one game only? Okay, because one person is like, oh, FPS games really help me, really makes my alertness better, my reaction time a lot better, my hand-eye coordination so much better. Doesn't mean that everyone has to follow that person, you know. There are many other things out there. Like, I get it nowadays that there are like these sort of like games like aim lab also that helps you train your aim. That is entirely by preference, but honestly, so basically also aim lab, these kind of games, yeah, they help you train your aim, but I feel like, okay, aim lab has like that FPS sort of, well, it basically trains your FPS game. Also, I guess it's just basically anything in general, to be honest. But aimlab helps you train FPS. But the thing is, I feel like FPS genre of a game is not a particularly good game at all in any way. Despite it, if it gives you benefits or whatever, it is not a. It is a good genre of games, but it is very repetitive and it gets very boring. There are many variants of FPS games at this right now, but most of the unique ones aren't just purely FPS. They have other aspects added into it, like um let's say Destiny 2. Well, it's sort of FPS, but there is other elements added into it that makes it more of a, like, not as FPSy as other games, if you get what I mean.
Mm.
So as such, I feel like FPS as games as a genre is really repetitive. As let's take, there's so many FPS games that are basically just photocopies of each other, except maybe different guns, different movements, different maps, and all that kind of stuff. It is a really repetitive genre of game with no creativity involved. As such, I feel like FPS games lack quite a bit of effort as compared to other genres of games.
I agree with your point that yes, it is an oversaturated genre. However, in games such as the one that you said, Destiny 2, FPS is a core fundamental part of the game. As such, even though it isn't just FPS, the fact that it's FPS also helps because it is what's it, very uh people are used to seeing it. It's not something very foreign, like something like League of Legends, let's say. That game is very strategically based. It's third person, and people have to actually think about their moves in ahead of time. It's like a basically like an online chess game in a different format.
So what you're
And then
saying,
you
yeah, okay,
and then
continue.
you
Yeah.
got your other genres like your rhythm games. Yes, those sometimes train accuracy, but other than but most of the time they mostly just train your muscle memory because most levels are the same throughout, so you can just remember the patterns and where to press your inputs to input your inputs and stuff like that, and then you'll still be able to uh, beat the level. But FPS on the other hand deals with in actual people in real life. They are able to respond differently to your same to the tactics that you have. So you have to add a variance in gameplay. B, you actually have to aim because it's in a third person, it's in a 3D space. You can't just rely on auto aim in like some games.
Variance in gameplay. Okay, we'll touch on that topic right now. Okay.
And then C, and then
Okay,
C,
yeah, sure.
um, it gives you a chance to have better awareness than other games because it is a core fundamental part of being good at these kind of games.
Well, I'll pause you right there. We'll go. So on to people playing differently, different play styles, different ways on how they play. At the end of the day, FPS is just, well, sort of shooting each other. Maybe people strafe slightly more than others. Maybe people crouch slightly more than others. Maybe people jump a lot more than others. Maybe people quick scope better than others. Maybe people can 360 no scope better than others. Well, at the end of the day, you are still doing the same thing. If you're doing defuse, you're still defusing a bomb. If you're doing battle royale, you're just trying to get first. There is no, there is nothing special about it. Sure, it is fun at the start, but it gets so repetitive to the point that it's really boring. And I feel that maybe new genres of games could be explored, something where it relies on your more of your creativity rather than you being confined by the boundaries of the game itself. So basically, it is like more options for you to choose rather than being stuck with a few game modes: battle royale, diffuse, gun game, I arms race, anything, something like that. So I feel like FPS games aren't the best when it comes in terms of variety and
Now
such. I feel like other genres are a lot better.
nowadays, I believe that due to the oversaturation of FPS games, they seem to be very boring and repetitive. However, I'd like to state that an FPS, when you play an FPS game, it's not a restriction that you only play that one game. You can play multiple games. So by forcing yourself to play just one game, you are in fact was it hurting yourself.
Okay, wait, we'll touch on that
And
point. So, the thing is, there are multiple for them to play, but how many are there really? It looks like a lot when you first start off the game, I know, but as you slowly play, you realize it's kind of repetitive. Okay, I'm playing gun game. Oh, I'm kind of bored of gun game, you know. Then just switch over to some battle royale. Oh, I've won battle royales multiple times, getting kind of boring now. Let's switch on over to diffuse. Oh, diffuse is kind of the same thing at the end of the day. I'm just planting the bomb and using the bomb. Yeah, so I feel like it's a really repetitive thing, and there are not many things that you can do in an FPS game. It is really just the same few things happening again and again and again. So I feel like games really lack sort of creativity. They're really just stuck on the FPS genre, and you can't branch out to other things.
that's why I believe that FPS genres, although yes, they are saturated, that's why the players should also be able to think of new and unique things. Because I believe that playing an FPS is not about thinking about the same game mode and stuff like that. I believe it's thinking about how you can improve your gunplay, how you can improve your skills as a person.
But
Because at the end of the day, yes, everything will remain the same. So will it also remain in like in games like League of Legends. So will it also remain in OSU, where the levels are basically just the same. At the end of the day, creativity will eventually run out in the game when people aren't interested in it. Yes.
yes, but
However, that's why I believe that since FPS has such a wide player base, more people are able to come up with interesting strategies and ways to come
oh my
to like
god, no.
defeat enemies and stuff like that.
I'm what I think should be done is, instead of players branching out to having more creative ideas, something like that, I feel like the game producers themselves should play a part. Obviously, they make a game so people play on it. They don't just make a game and just leave it there and like be like, oh, I don't really care if people play on it or not. You know, the point of game producers making a game is to make people play it so that they earn money. But I feel like what game producers should do is make it more entertaining, make it more interesting, make it more special than other FPS games. Give an element that is more special rather than just merging multiple FPS games that everyone likes into one. Sure, that makes people like it, they come to it, they play it, but at the end of the day, it really just, sometimes it flops, sometimes it works, but at the end of the day, it's not really creative, isn't it? You're just taking ideas from two different games and you're just putting it together. How interesting is that really? I don't
Yes,
think it's really that creative. I don't think it's really that interesting. I think that at the end of the day, it is still an FPS game and it is still the same as others. There is no difference that sets it aside. Maybe the first few games you play, oh, this is a really cool game, this is a really new game, I think that is really cool, this will probably be my new main game, this game is so fun. But as you slowly move on, you slowly realize, hey, isn't this basically just isn't this basically the exact same thing that I used to do on another game, you know? Why did I even change games? Why did I devote so much time on the previous game if I were to just switch to a new game, which is the exact same thing? Why would I grind up my levels on the other game, get a positive KD, get a good player stats, just to enter a new game and restart on the stats? And, well, you know, it's the exact same thing, except slightly different.
I understand your point. Obviously, what's it? Game developers should always play a part in their games. I did not mention that, and that is my fault. However, I believe that players should also play a large part because at the end of the day, it is just a small team of developers, or maybe a large team, but is not as wide as their player base. With the player base, they're able to come up with good suggestions. I believe that what's it? Game companies should be able to rely on the community to give ideas in which they can implement into the game. That way, it's a self-sustaining cycle of creativity, which can further the game into new heights and bring in even more players, which will continue the cycle.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that point. Game companies should really listen to their player base more so that the game can be improved. But of course,
That's the
if the ideas are really ridiculous and make no sense at all, then obviously they should not listen to those. Or it will just harm the game. But they should really listen to their player base more, make the game more interesting, make the game more engaging, so that instead of migrating to a new game that is only slightly different, they can stay on the same game, except that the updates make it a lot more different, so things are special. Basically, what game producers should do is make the game more engaging, so that instead of players migrating to a different game, they will stay to the same game, instead of like migrating to a different game and just playing the exact same thing but slightly different. Game producers should update the game, make the updates more interesting. Instead of adding like a certain new weapon, instead of adding like a certain new map, maybe add like a new game mode, like I don't know, once every half a year. I think that'd be pretty cool. Make like certain game rotations, like for example, um every month it rotates a certain game. Like for example, 1 month there is gun game. Of course, all the OG and normal ones like diffuse, deathmatch, all the stuff will always just remain forever. But like games like gun game, you know, like maybe snipers only, I don't know, many things, knife only. There could be like a rotation of these, like every week, so that players can do something new. I guess, you know, something new could come out. So I guess it would make it more engaging instead of playing the same thing over and over and over again. Overall, players will be playing the game for a longer period of time.
On your point of having the game switch, yes, it is a good variant if the players need to play it. However, let's say there's certain games where it's just PvP only, everything stays the same. The only thing you can earn is maybe some skins or stuff like that. Then I believe that those games should have all the unique game modes available to everyone, so that all of them available at one time to everyone. So that at one time when someone wants to try something new or perhaps play a certain game mode that they enjoy, they don't have to wait for a certain time to go and play that. Rather can just play it directly without having to wait potentially weeks just for that game to come back.
I also feel that first person shooter games, they should categorize players against people their same level a lot more than normal, because currently many FPS games, if you're a new player, you're just hopping on, you know, just want to try this new FPS game, your friends have been telling you about it, really fun, really cool, you just want to try it, you hop onto it and you're just getting trashed because you're playing against people who are like infinitely higher level than you. So I think FPS games, and I think game producers should make matchmaking a lot better, a lot more improved, so that players will have a general overall better rating on the game. And I think that would make FPS games a lot better in general.
I agree with your point. However, I would also like to raise the point of veteran players. These are players who play for a long time, and they do not have any other choice other than, hey, I have to play against the hardest people to play against because I'm such high level. I believe there should be two different playlists. One separated by skill so that players of a lower experience level can actually like play properly and enjoy themselves without having to go up against the most try hard players, but also a playlist where it's connection based, so that veteran players are able to have fun without having to try too hard. Where it's a casual playlist of activities.
Okay, yeah, I completely agree with you on that. So there'll be like a, so it's like there'll be like competitive, and then there's like casual. So
Yeah,
casual is where there's like no improved matchmaking, then competitive there's like an actual
yeah,
matchmaking thing. Completely agree with you on that. And I think that's gonna wrap up this episode of this episode's this I can't speak, this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to us, and leave your comments down in the comment section,
thoughts.
and yeah, your thoughts, your feelings, and maybe if you guys want to debate, you guys want us to debate about something new, you can always say the topic in the comment section. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and Please do leave a like and subscribe, that really means a lot to me, and bye.